is, oh my goodness, the Trudeau Liberals are in a big fight with Meta and Google over Bill C-18. It's amazing. I am enjoying this, Tamara Ugolini, because um, one of the ways in which the Canadian government is getting back at Meta and Google is that they're pulling their advertising from those platforms. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, their advertising, that would be my tax dollars going to the federal government advertising. By the way, why is it that the federal government, which has the biggest Uber monopoly in our great dominion, why do they feel the need to advertise in the first place? You're the government. You're going to do whatever the hell you want. And we've sure seen that these last 8 years. But what I'm enjoying, Tamara Ugolini, is that blackface. He looks like a guy that just smoked one of those cigars and it exploded in his mouth. Same with Pablo Rodriguez. It's that they can't believe there's dissension in the media ranks, in this case, social media, because for years now, they've had all their trained SEALs in the mainstream media basically respond to any government edict, such as jump, and they go, "How high, Mr. Trudeau?" And suddenly you have these Silicon Valley tech giants. And I'm sure Trudeau thought that, the government and those Silicon Valley companies, they had a groovy kind of love. We both love censorship. We both love suppressing the truth. We're all part of a team here. What's the problem? Why the mutiny? So, Tamara, if this goes on forever, I'm a happy camper because as I said, if my tax dollars aren't going to needless advertising, that's a plus. And one last thing, I notice while the government is saying Meta and Google are social media non grata, well, the Liberal Party of Canada will still advertise. We're not ready to be divorced yet. Let's just call it a separation, right? And they're playing it up that the Liberal Party and the government are two separate things. I'll tell you one thing, Tamara Ugolini, whenever I try to drop off a petition in Ottawa, either to the government or the Liberal Party of Canada, funny, isn't it? They're simpatico. They always refuse to accept it. Anyways, your thoughts, my friend.
I think this is the only instance where the government, by way of the censorious minister, Pablo Rodriguez, has differentiated between the government of Canada and the Liberal Party of Canada, who is currently, a fringe minority and developed this unofficial coalition with the NDP to be a majority government. But for anyone who doesn't know, Bill C-18 is the one that they're going back and forth with here. And if we can pull up the article that our writer Alex Dhaliwal posted, he says the Online News Act mandates that tech giants, so like Meta, enter revenue sharing agreements with news publishers. This is probably about halfway down the article. I think it's just above the, down a little bit further. There's another, there it is. The Online News Act mandates that tech giants enter revenue sharing agreements with news publishers. News Media Canada, which advocates for the domestic news industry, urged all stakeholders to act in good faith and engage in the regulatory process. And of course, when Meta was like, whoa, we don't want to share revenue and basically squash the little guys here, or the guys that we don't agree with or that the government doesn't agree with, because I think part of this is that you have to be a government recognized media outlet, which Rebel continually fights for and continually gets disregarded on. And so that will automatically bring the algorithm down, quash anything that all of the content we're trying to put out. And so when Meta said, hold on a minute, we're not into this revenue sharing, now the Trudeau Liberals are basically pulling what I would equate to like toddler temper tantrums here. Well, then I'm going to take my ball and go home.
Yeah.
And we're going to pull our advertising, but we'll only pull the advertising that's through the government of Canada, not through the Liberal Party of Canada. And actually, it's funny that Rodriguez was pressed about this by a reporter, and we have this clip here to share with you in case you don't believe us, that he's actually saying that there's some separation here between the government of Canada and the Liberal Party. Let's play this.
So you mentioned the government won't be spending advertising money, but I'm looking at Facebook's ad library. The Liberal Party is running many ads right now and has run like thousands of dollars just in the last month or so. Is this going to extend to your party as well?
I'm speaking on behalf of the government. You get to talk to our different parties, I guess, to the Bloc, to the NDP, to the Liberals, and anyone else who's in the House. But this is a government decision, then the party have to make their own decisions.
Is it not ironic that the government cuts it, but the people who you represent as a party wouldn't?
Well, the government is one thing, the party is another one. They are. I can tell you, I've been a volunteer like 25 years. It's very different.
Even the reporter's laughing.
You know what, Tamara, two things. One is, it just shows the hypocrisy of the blackface Liberals, because the fact that the Liberal Party of Canada is still advertising on Facebook, that can only mean one thing. And that is, they think this is an effective way to advertise. Otherwise, why would you throw your money, why would you throw our money, taxpayer money, on a platform that isn't capturing any significant number of eyeballs? But my personal feeling, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I am, they are in for the fight of their lives, the Liberals, on this one, because it's not just about, a revenue sharing agreement for the Dominion of Canada, population just under 40 million people, not, when you compare us to the more populous countries in the world, China, India, the United States, so on and so forth. What the Silicon Valley tech giants don't want to have happen here, I think, Tamara, is a precedent. They don't want to see some kind of deal where they're paying X number of millions to the media outlets in Canada, because if they bend the knee on that, how many other countries in the globe, the 200 or so countries on our planet, are going to say, wow, look what they did in Canada. We want the same deal. So I think this is going to be a scorched earth policy for the tech giants, not because they can't afford to pay Canadian media outlets. It's just that they don't want this huge precedent set for all the nations of the world and all the media organizations of the world. Because don't forget that this is under the veil of somehow upholding democracy, right? This whole, the censorship plans, this war in Ukraine that we're endlessly funding billions of dollars to, is all under the guise of somehow protecting democracy, even though the cornerstone of democracy is robust discussion, robust debate, and freedom of the press. And yet everything that the Justin Trudeau Liberals are doing are a direct hit and infringement on those cornerstones of functioning, healthy democracy. And we have a clip here to share with you of Trudeau basically saying what I just stated, but the opposite, right? He flips the script, gaslights anybody who questions it, and touts this absolutely damaging rhetoric. Let's have a listen.
Facebook decided that Canada was a small country, small enough, and that they could reject our asks. They made the wrong choice by deciding to attack Canada. We want to defend democracy. This is what we're doing across the world, such as supporting Ukraine. This is what we've done during the Second World War. This is what we're doing every single day in the United Nations. And I know that Canadians will not be bullied by billionaires in the U.S., billionaires that are impacting negatively our democracy. We will have a strong stance with that. We're not alone. Other countries are looking closely at what we're doing. We will not accept this type of threats. The threats by Meta. Our democracies are threatened everywhere around the world. And if we're letting go, we will lose.
Yeah, well, I think, Tamara Ugolini, blackface just made my point. Other countries around the world are looking at this. This is precisely why I don't think Meta and Google are going to bend the knee anytime soon. Again, it goes back to what I said about a precedent, but did he just play like the Second World War card? Is that what he is giving moral equivalence to in this battle? And by the way, blackface, how about your daddy, Pierre Elliott Trudeau? How come if you were so dead set against defending democracy back in the Second World War, why didn't he enlist? I forgot he would rather just drive around Montreal in a motorcycle and bugger off in terms of actually putting his life on the line. Give me a break. But these comparisons he's making, Tamara Ugolini, are outrageous. And by the way, I'm looking with some amusement at how the mainstream media is covering this, including those media outlets that I still subscribe to, such as the Toronto Sun. This was the front page story on the Sun today. Ugly fight. But here's the deck is outrageous. And it's written by the disgraced Brian Lilley, so maybe that's why it is. As Heritage Minister Pablo Rodriguez goes to war with tech giants Google and Meta over fate of Canadian news, poll finds most want a settlement. Here it is right there, front page news entitled Ugly Fight. You know what? Are you going to bed at night, Tamara Ugolini, going, oh, please, God, please let's have peace on the federal government Meta Google front. It's just consuming me. I mean, it's so important. I don't think most Canadians are probably even aware of this. I bet you, Tamara Ugolini, if I went down to Young Dundas Square and did a streeter, 99 out of 100 people would have no idea what this issue is about. So the idea that the Sun is ginning up that most Canadians want this solved sooner rather than later. Oh, give me a break. I'd love to see the methodology of that poll.
You know, I think that's a great idea, David. Maybe that's your next mission as our mission specialist, is to head down and just see how many Canadians actually know that this is taking place. Because I think unless you follow alternative media like Rebel News and others, you would be none the wiser that this is happening, because it's a direct hit on that alternative media, on independent journalism. And again, that is a cornerstone of a healthy democratic nation, is being able to provide that unbiased reporting. And so when you're funding the mainstream media, as we talk about endlessly on this platform, why would they ever bite the hand that feeds? These people get endless subsidies, bailouts from the government, which is essentially just our tax dollars. And so, of course, they're not going to speak truth to power or criticize their policies because, hey, maybe they're next on the line to be cut off of the trough, so to speak. But for Trudeau to say that Canadians won't be bullied by billionaires, well, Canadians also don't want to be bullied by Trudeau and his censorious attempts to establish a ministry of truth. I mean, he is acting a la Pravda-style newspeak brought to you by, the likes of Stalin. He's acting like an iron fist dictator who's going to manage everything and anything that Canadians can access online. Because we saw throughout the last 3 years that the government narrative was upheld and amplified endlessly. And anybody who acted contrary to that or provided an alternative opinion was slandered, smeared, censored. And they want more of a tight grip on all of that moving forward with their agendas. Like I imagine will be the climate alarmism, the carbon credits, carbon taxes, as we just had our Canada Day, another carbon tax instituted onto us. And the food industry with, the eat the bugs alternative to getting away from meat and actually being healthy, robust people. So we see these agendas coming forward and they're studying our behaviors, how to manipulate them, what the most effective ways to do that are. I'll have a report on that out, I hope, later today. It was a big dig, so bear with us as we get those edits done. But we know that this is coming. And they're just trying to finesse their strategy to make sure that you comply unquestionably moving forward.
Well, Tamara, just getting back to the issue at hand, press censorship, at least that's the way it's being portrayed by the blackface liberals. Isn't this perversely ironic? I mean, the proof is in the political pudding, I would say, when it comes to this topic. I remember back in 2019, our one lawyer went up against 5 federal government lawyers and successfully got a federal court order to get us into the parliamentary debate for the election that year. And then you think that would have been a precedent. Oh, no, folks. Once again, 5 versus 1 in 2021. We won again. The only difference between 2019 and 2021 is that Blackface and his new best boyfriend, Jagmeet Singh, actually answered questions. But by 2021, you had Blackface and Singh say, we don't recognize you as a media outlet. We're not going to answer you. Even though the Federal Court of Canada said, yes, Rebel News is legitimate media, they put their finger up, not just at us, Tamara, and our organization, but every registered voter in Canada. They were saying to the people, we're not going to give you an answer, even though the federal court allowed these journalists into the venue. What a disgrace. Where was his fight for democracy then? Where was his coming to the aid of press freedom then? I guess it depends on who the journalists are, i.e. the trained seals in the media party versus independent media voices that, ask impolite questions, make insensitive statements. Is that what it all boils down to, Tamara Ugolini?
Yeah, the media lapdogs, of course.